Hi, I'm Robin Birkin, an ex-corporate marketer turned online business owner. I took everything I knew and created a six-figure life coaching business in the margins between nap times and a 9 to 5, and I'm here to share with you how you can do the same. Tune in as I share the raw and unfiltered truths, big lessons, and practical tips to help you build and grow a sustainable bread-winning business online that is both peaceful and profitable. Here, we dive deep into all things online courses, funnels, audience growth, and so much more. If that sounds like the things you want to learn, then welcome to Signature Online Course Secrets. Let's go. Oh my goodness. So you know how sometimes you just know in your heart, like, I know that this is going to be super valuable and it's going to kick off. Well, that's just happened here. So a couple of days ago, we released a free guide called the 16-Hour CEO. Already been downloaded nearly 150 times in just a couple of days, minimal promotion because I'm on school vacation at the moment. And it's all about how I run my six-figure plus business in 16 hours per week. What do I do? What tasks do I focus on? What does my schedule look like? The hour by hour. How do I fit in exercise? What do I do with my kids? It's all in there. And I know that it's super valuable and you will love it too. So if you want to grab a copy, it's about 24 pages of just pure value and insights into exactly how I run my business. Then head to my Instagram at Robin Birkin and just comment the word CEO. I'll send it through to you. You can have a look. Already the feedback has been awesome. Loads of people saying that it's so incredibly well laid out and valuable, and it's going to help you create your ideal week. So even if you have less hours, many of you will know that I had a six-figure business when I could only work 6 hours per week. So even if you have less hours, it's going to be so helpful to you. So come and say hi on Instagram, comment on one of my posts, or send me a DM with the word CEO. We'll send it through to you. It's free. But today, what we are talking about on Signature Online Course Secrets is 4 reasons your business isn't growing. So maybe you're just starting out and feel like you're just shouting into the void. No one's picking up what you're putting down. Or maybe you're established in business and you feel like you should be further along by now. You're seeing other people in business who are zooming ahead of you and wondering what they're doing. And you end up getting really in your head with comparisonitis when you're in that kind of zone. Like, what are they doing that I'm not? Then you start watching their webinars. Then you start jumping on their email list to be like, well, what are they doing that I'm not? Why are they so successful? And maybe even like you've had some success and then 2024 has thrown you for a loop. And if that's you, FYI, one of my kids says FII, you're like super common, right? It is happening. And here's 4 reasons why that might be the case so that you can have some aha moments about what you can do to change, shift, evolve, pivot in this market. So number 1 is you have the wrong priorities. And so circling back to the 16-hour CEO guide, you will see these are the things that I've left behind. These are the things that I've done. These are the things that I've prioritized in my business. And one thing that I've learned about the to-do list of business, or the to-do list of life, is that it's never empty. You will always have things that you need to do in your business. There's always going to be things you could be doing in your business, but what is going to truly provide the best return on investment for you? And I mean, even I guess if we look into investing financially or emotionally into your business, there's always things you could be investing in, learning in. There's always going to be changes that need to be made to your website. I don't know a single business owner, even 7 and 8 figure business owners, who don't have some things that they'd like to update or change on their website. It's like a never ending thing. But if you're focused on the wrong things all the time, like just doing things that actually don't move the needle that much or as much, then you're going to end up spinning your wheels and not growing at the rate that you could grow in. And that goes through everything, like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. So right through from your like social media to the way that you serve and look after your clients. If you're focusing on the wrong priorities, spending your time incorrectly or doing things that don't matter as much, then you're going to be missing out on the things that really do matter and really do move the needle in terms of growing your business. The next one is kind of similar, and this is a scattered approach. So one of the big things that I see lots of people do is that they think that in order to scale, more is more, and that's absolutely not the case. Both times that I've sort of scaled my business. So the first time is when I brought my business to 6 figures, and the next time is when I brought my business to multi 6 figures. Both of those times involved simplifying. They involved cutting things out of my product suite, where the first time when I wanted to scale to 6 figures was dramatic. I cut down pretty much every single product in my product suite, with the exception of my signature course. And later I added my mastermind and never really added in much more back into that. I certainly didn't prioritize much more than that. And I used to have consulting clients. I fired all of them. And that was really hard because they were a consistent source of revenue for me. At the same time as I hired a podcast manager. So all of a sudden I cut out the consistent revenue from my business whilst also taking on more expenses in order to be able to really efficiently manage my time and scale and become the authority in what I do. And if you listen to this podcast, I mean, hello, even the podcast name, I am all about having a signature online course. Get that one thing going. Then we look at not just saying, okay, now I'm going to launch the next thing. Now I'm going to launch the next thing. No, get that one thing growing. Get that one thing working. So if it doesn't work off the bat, that's not a sign to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start another thing. It's not. And, you know, haven't we all just been guilty of doing this? The very first launch I had of my digital offerings was an online course called Be a Fertility Warrior. It really wasn't that great. Each video, it was maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Each video was about 10 to 15 minutes long. It had some worksheets. I sold it for $247 and I had 4 people buy it. And I gave one also away for free to a friend. But I then had one person refund. So a little bit of a side note is always be nice as pie when you give people refunds, because that person who refunded then later went on to join and invest in higher priced products later down the line because she kept following me. I didn't lose that trust. I was very no problems, but I had 0 engagement in the Facebook group. And so I landed with just 3 people paying $247. I then hired a business coach for $4,000 for an 8-week one-to-one program. And she was like, no, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because I was actually all prepared. And the reason why I had hired her was because I had, by this point, quit my part-time job. I had been in that company for 8 years as a senior marketing manager. I quit that job and decided that I wanted to be home more with my children. So I quit that job and hired her with the intention of becoming a marketing agency. And she told me not to throw the baby out with the bathwater and try one more time, because I had a bit of an audience. I had an email list. I think I had 1,000 or 2,000 people on my email list at that point. And so I tried again. This was the launch when I sent out one hand raiser email and received 50 people reply to put their hand up to come and jump on a discovery call with me. 50. And so I did that. I actually still only had 5 people who joined, because everything is a process. You need to learn skills. It was literally the first time I'd ever done discovery calls. And so we did that. And then I kept reiterating, I kept growing, I kept learning new skills and learning how to scale. And that was how, within the space of about 18 months, that program, the Fertility Warrior program, made $150,000 before it was retired. And the reason why it was retired was actually nothing to do with the way the program was selling. It was actually retired because we had, Black Lives Matter. I had become a lot more aware of diversity and inclusion. I had learned a lot more about life coaching, and I just got to a point where the whole course needed a revamp. So that was the only reason why the course was retired. But it sold super well.
because I kept focusing and refining on that program. But in order for me to have the time, because at that time I only had 6 hours per week to commit to the business, in order for that to happen, I needed to drop everything else and really commit to making that work. So how many of you could say that you've sat there and said, okay, actually, I'm going to stick with it? Your first ever launch does not need to be a $10,000 or $100,000 launch. I'm all in the camp of start small, get it out there, right? Let's stop the perfection. Let's stop trying to make it perfect. Let's stop trying to record all of our modules, whatever it is, right? And by the way, I ran that program as a group coaching program for several rounds before it became more online course based. And that's what I recommend with so many of my clients, especially my mastermind clients who are absolutely killing it at the moment. But a scattered approach means you're going to launch that, then you're going to do one launch of that, then you're going to stop what you're doing, go and create a new program or a new product, and you're never going to have the time to properly invest in growing. And when we launch something again and again and again, there's that awareness within our market of that product and of the messaging journey that we take people through. And if you don't know what that messaging journey is, you need to come and work with me, because it's one of the number one things that's going to affect the success of your launches as well. A scattered approach can also mean you have a little bit of success and then you go changing everything around. And I fell into this trap as well multiple times, mostly with low-cost memberships. So you will have a bit of a success with, say, your online course. And it's almost like it happens a little bit organically that you're like, well, what's the next step? Well, I think that they should have some continuity. And so you go, well, and I've got this big audience. So really I should have by now expand and have this broader program. So I'm going to launch a low-cost membership. And then the low-cost membership doesn't really fit in very nicely with the conversions to the online course. So we break the conversions to the online course. Then we're stuck with membership, which is this beast that needs more and more and more of us. There's also churn. So we need to be continuing to funnel all these people in to combat the churn of the people leaving. And it almost becomes, like a pot that never fills, like a leaky bucket, right? And it's low cost. So it's very hard to recoup that revenue, but then somehow you've already signed yourself up to more burnout. So there's a really strategic way to create an offer suite and continuity programs that won't sabotage, number one, the conversions of your signature program, but also number two, won't sabotage your revenue generally, right? It will only amplify your revenue and your authority and your sales of your signature program. So scattered is when, like we do it once, we do it twice, we do it 3 times, and then all of a sudden we want to swap and change and do new things and break the things that might have been working before. No, don't do it. Stick with the plan. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And also, when we're looking at these, I speak to the wrong priorities and a scattered approach, sometimes it's okay to leave money on the table or perceive that you're leaving a little bit of money on the table, because sometimes what you're actually doing is solidifying your authority and increasing your conversions in the main thing rather than diluting your impact, your growth, your authority. So I really have beef with this concept of like trying to scoop up everyone in the market, trying to have products that meet everyone in the market, because actually what that can do is the opposite of what you think it's going to do.
There's one question I've been asked more than anything else, and it's this. Robin, how do you get so much done in such a short period of time? Because I've never had the luxury of being able to work in my business and hustle those 40 to 60 hour weeks. It's all been between nap times, a 9 to 5, or the school run. And from my second year in business and ever since, we've had 6-figure plus years. So this is it. I've put together for you my entire weekly work schedule, my to-do list, and everything I do in my business to help give you the tips, insights, and strategies to help you thrive as a business owner in part-time hours. It's called 16-Hour CEO, and it's a value-packed PDF that takes you behind the scenes in my business. Want a copy? It is totally free, and it's at launcheasylife.com/CEO. That's launcheasylife.com/CEO. All right, let's dive back into the episode.
Number 3, in terms of the reasons why your business isn't growing, is that you have a bonsai business. And what I mean by a bonsai business is if you think of a plant, let's say your business is a plant, like the most beautiful plant ever. You take such good care of it. You're watering it. You're pruning it. You're making sure, that there's no diseases. You are putting so much effort, love, and care into this plant. But inevitably, there comes a time in our business when we need to move to a bigger pot, where you will stunt the growth of your business unless you move to a bigger pot. You're not instantly going to fill that pot. It's going to be scary because, like, what if I break it? When I do that, there's I need all of these new things. It'll feel terrifying. But if you don't move to a bigger pot, you're going to stay where you are. And that means not really investing in your growth and keeping yourself small. And it always looks like when you are scaling or jumping from level to level in your business, it can feel, from experience, absolutely terrifying, because it always looks like taking the leap, then you grow after. So a perfect example is when I hired a podcast manager for the first time. I was all of a sudden committing myself to earning $500 per month because that was what she charged me at the time. And that was a discount and a really great rate. But I was like, oh my God, all of a sudden I'm going to have to make this revenue. And I had to trust that it was going to work before I had to take the leap, trust that it was going to work, pay the money before I saw the return. I had to understand that, this was the next right step in my business, and that without that, my business, my podcast was not going to go out weekly, was probably not going to reach top charts, was not going to be done strategically. And huzzah, it's reached more than 1 million downloads. It has 125,000 impressions every month, despite not releasing a new podcast episode in nearly 2 years. And when I talk about the right priorities in your business, that's what I mean. Things that will actually move the needle, be done strategically, and be done effectively in your business. Another example is Facebook ads. You will see if you listen to last week's episode, the way that I became good at Facebook and Instagram ads is because I invested $10,000 in Facebook and Instagram ads coach. I invested that money before I saw the return in that. And I'm not just talking about investing money. I'm talking about investing time, investing emotional energy into programs, products, services, people. I'm talking about virtual assistants. Where are you freaking yourself out and not trusting in your success, not trusting in the next right steps to move forward in your business? Because if you are not doing that, you are going to inevitably stunt the growth. If you're not moving to a bigger pot, you're going to have a bonsai business. Healthy, right? You're taking great care of it. It still takes work, but it's just not going to grow to the level that you want. And then the very last one is you're expecting everything to be a hell yes. And this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I can tell you right now that not every decision I've made in my business has been a hell yes or a full body yes. And I'll tell you why. Because our brains are designed, if you've ever read Mel Robbins' The 5-second rule, our brains are designed instantly, once we make a decision or decide that we want to do something or have a thought, to knock that thought down, to give us fear, terror, to tell us all the reasons why something isn't going to work for us or isn't the right step. And one of the things I've really lent into in my business is being okay with risk. Entrepreneurship is inherently it's not that risky, but it's inherently a risky business. I mean, you could say that a 9-to-5 is a riskier model because you could instantly walk in today and then go to zero because they fire you or they shut down the business. But you have to be willing in entrepreneurship to take risks and do things that terrify you. So if we look at our head, our heart, and our gut, I've very rarely had all three of those things say yes to one another. Sometimes it looks like my head says yes, but my gut says this feels awkward, terrifying, and I want to throw up in my mouth. And sometimes my gut says yes, but my head says, surely this isn't a logical move, and I do it anyway. And that's been one of the keys to my success is, particularly our brains. Our brains don't always tell us the truth, right? 80% of the thoughts that we have in our brain are negative. 95% of the thoughts that we have are the exact same thoughts we had yesterday, right? And it's all worst case thinking. But 85% of the time, the worst case scenario that you're worried about never happens. And for the 15% of people for whom the worst case scenario did happen, 79% said actually it wasn't that bad. So we can get all up in our heads about expecting everything to be easy. But in actual fact, it's about making sometimes hard decisions in order to have an easy life, where easy decisions actually result in a hard life. And that's where we look at trouble scaling, trouble growing, trouble making big decisions. So perfect example is me shutting down my life coaching business just on the weekend. If you looked at my Instagram stories, I accidentally logged back into my Pinterest account for my fertility business. And I was like, whoa, Nelly, again, I've not posted on that account in nearly 2 years, but we're at something like 370,000 monthly views on that account with nearly 7,000 website clicks. And I gave up that business. I gave up my fertility life coaching business right when everything was taking off. But it was an incredibly considered decision and one that I don't regret for a single moment. And even though I've shut down my big revenue source, we're still at 6 figures, and I can completely see the path to which the business will far surpass the revenue that we had in that business because it's more aligned for me and because I'm not trying to juggle two essentially different businesses. But I didn't have like a full body yes in terms of making that decision. What I had was my heart continually telling me that this was not aligned and that this was not where my heart was. It didn't make me happy, but my head was like, hang on, you've got all of this authority. You're reaching 250,000 people a month on Instagram. Like you go viral, with the click of a button, and you're so well known, right? But my heart continually told me it wasn't the right decision. So if you're waiting for a full body yes in order to make every single decision that you have, is there potential that what you're doing is actually not making steps forward or making steps forward at a really slow pace and then feeling like your business isn't growing to the rate that you want? So those are 4 reasons why your business isn't growing. So number 1 is the wrong priorities. What you really want to be focusing on is core simple metrics in your business that are going to result in the revenue and the ideal work week that it is that you're looking for with the results for your clients. A scattered approach. You keep throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You keep trying to make shifts and changes before you've actually truly had the success that you want. And something that I call back to all the time is a lot of us as business owners get bored really quickly. But surely being bored is the goal in business. Like, isn't that the dream? To be bored and to have everything working and then to be laid back in business. So calling yourself back frequently to that. Number 3, having a bonsai business, like just tempering yourself all the time and not making the big leaps, the big decisions, the things that terrify you in your business that will help you move to a bigger pot and allow you to scale rather than stunting your growth. And number 4 is always expecting everything to feel smooth and flowy and aligned. Sometimes the biggest decisions that result in the most growth actually feel really uncomfortable in our bodies. And it's always, when we reach those upper limits that we have to say, okay, hang on, how am I going to move through that? And my experience has always been that there's been some friction when I've been wanting to make some big decisions rather than always being like, yes, like hell yes, 100% yes. And I just don't agree with, like if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. I'm like, no. Sometimes it feels complicated and you can feel multiple things at the same time whilst knowing that something is 100% the right decision for you. That's us for this week. I cannot wait to see you next week. But I want to let you know that there's a little surprise coming on Monday. We're actually going to start releasing 2 episodes per week starting Monday. And this other episode every week is going to be the shit. So make sure you're subscribed and tune in on Monday for our new series starting soon. I can't wait to speak to you then. Bye for now.
Another episode on the books. If you'd like to continue the conversation and get more super savable tips, come and find me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed and I can't wait to see you next week.